I'm almost 95% sure that the majority of you guys are going to agree with this video, and the other 5% of you might be Blue Jays fans, because what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and discuss the travesty, the absolute disgrace that is Phase 1 of the 2022 All-Star Game and its voting results. I'm going to talk about this right now. Screw the outfielders. So my tweet says, I know Blue Jays fans were simply doing their job and voting as often as humanly possible, but Andres not making it to Phase 2 would be an absolute embarrassment. Sorry, not sorry. So if we take a look at Santiago Espinal, he's got more at-bats, he has a worse average, not as many home runs, not as many RBIs, not as many stolen bases, he has a lower OPS, and if we take a look at my tweet below it, Andres also has 4 more DRS. So everything screams that Andres Gimenez should be not only in Phase 2, but competing with Jose Altuve and actually beating Jose Altuve if we're just looking at the stats for the starting spot in the 2022 All-Star Game at second base. The problem that we face is that if we come on over to the MLB Network Twitter account and we go all the way to the second basemen, we can see that my man Andres Gimenez got robbed. He will not be moving on to Phase 2. You know who is though? Santiago Espinal of the freaking Toronto Blue Jays, and this is where the problem lies. I'm not saying that Santiago Espinal is not having a fantastic season, but the voting system has to change because fans completely botch this. Now, again, I'm not trying to anger you Toronto fans or be the salty Cleveland fan, but I'm speaking for all of Major League Baseball fans when I say that this should not be happening. Andres lost by almost 500,000 votes, and every single metric of a baseball player favors Andres. But you know what doesn't? Population. Let me go ahead and just say this right now. Again, Santiago is having a fantastic season, but the city of Cleveland is home to about 370,000 people. The city of Toronto, it's a completely different country, so it has a whole country behind it, but if we just focus on Toronto itself, it's home to about 2 million people. So if we do the math correctly, if every single person in both cities care deeply about baseball and they're all voting, the city of Cleveland could take every single human, have them vote 5 times every single day, and they would still get beat by the fans of Toronto only voting 1 time each. So that is a problem. You can't have guys in small markets competing. I don't consider Houston to be a small market. I don't consider Toronto to be a small market. Now, the 3 considerations that I have for All-Star voting: 1, name recognition. Jose Altuve is one of the most recognizable figures in the game of sports, so he is going to get voted in. Santiago Espinal, he's not a recognizable name, but he does have the second metric, in my opinion, which might be more important than stats at this point: fan base and population. So Santiago Espinal is going to be your Phase 2 competitor with Jose Altuve. And you know what the craziest part is before we talk about another, let me go back to this. Another possible snub in Jeff McNeil. Actually, that is 1,000,000% another snub. I'm actually surprised that Mets fans were not able to deliver for poor Jeff McNeil, but let me go ahead and try and have this make sense to you. So you have Andres Gimenez finishing in 3rd place, which means that he will be heading to the players ballot. So all of the reserves or the bench players as well as the pitchers, they will be determined by the players ballot. So the fans will determine who will be starting between Jose Altuve and Santiago Espinal. Jose Altuve is going to absolutely wipe the floor. He is going to 100% be starting. So what does that mean? Santiago Espinal will now be moved down to the players ballot, and there's no physical possibility that players can look at the stats and say, yes, we're going to vote for Santiago over Andres Gimenez. So at this point right now, Andres has a better chance of playing in the All-Star game than the guy who is moving on to Phase 2. And if that doesn't scream that there is a problem in place, I don't know what does. But here is another snub, at least in my opinion. Also, shout out to Nolan Gorman for almost 550,000 votes, and he's only played a handful of games. But Ozzie Albies, he is not going to be, hopefully no one votes for Ozzie Albies because he is injured. And same for Bryce Harper. We know that he obviously made it. Jazz Chisholm 100% deserved it. But in my opinion, we should be switching Jeff McNeil and Ozzie Albies. Ozzie Albies, I actually am a fan of him, but he is a little bit overrated in terms of second basemen. I would have gone with Jeff and Jazz as the 2 people moving on to Phase 2, and that's just my opinion. So if we go all the way over to the first, I believe the first one was the designated hitter. I quickly want to go over everything with you guys just so we can see in a nutshell what we're dealing with. So the DHs in the AL, obviously Jordan ran away with that because while Ohtani is having a fantastic overall year, the clear favorite is Jordan, who is making history at the ripe age of 25 years old. Bryce Harper, he's not going to be starting, but whoa. Albert Pujols was in 3rd place. I mean, Max Muncy has been edged. JD Davis, very underrated. What's with Mets fans not voting for their guys? I'm actually kind of dumbfounded right now, but that one is a clear-cut favorite right there with Mr. Bryce Harper. The chosen one, ESPN, the magazine said that, not me. Alejandro Kirk, I mean, this is right here proving exactly how big of an advantage Toronto is in terms of voting. Now, I want to mention that Kirk deserves to start. I voted for Kirk a couple weeks ago when I came out with my All-Star video, but the Yankees are no scrubs. The Astros, Martin Maldonado stinks, so I'm happy that didn't happen. But even Salvador Perez, who was, I mean, some would say he was an MVP player a year ago. I don't believe that, but Trevino is having a fantastic season, but Kirk is getting the benefit of the doubt in terms of casual fans and non-casual fans because everything is going his way because he's a fun player. He has a massive fan base and his stats are there. Wilson Contreras easily beat Travis d'Arnaud. Will Smith, I mean, this is kind of a... This is where my argument starts to lose a little bit of steam because Will Smith is part of the Dodgers, and I think if we go over to MLB attendance, yeah, the Dodgers have the #1 attendance in all of Major League Baseball, so you would think that Will Smith would be getting more votes, but it's very, I mean, when you look at the stats, it's not even really close. And Braves fans, they're coming off the World Series win, so obviously they're feeling themselves. Paul Goldschmidt easily beat Polar Bear Pete. I agree with that, and you can see that Freddie and Matt Olson are battling. So remember, the one thing that you guys have to keep in mind is even if a player does not win Phase 2, where they start, where they start the All-Star game, they still have a chance of playing in the All-Star game as a reserve. So I want to make sure that you guys do not forget that. So if Jeff McNeil is your favorite player in the world, or maybe you really think that Luis Ariz got snubbed by the fans, that's completely fine. He will most likely be written in by the players. Also, I can't speak today. I'm sorry. I'm trying to do this in one take. Ty France, he's not going to be starting because he suffered that elbow injury. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. had an insane month of June, so I actually agree with flip-flopping. I thought it was going to be Ty France, but Vladdy, he earned it. We know how my feelings, I don't even want to look at that disgrace. We know what I think about that one right there, the second baseman's Lindor in 3rd place, Tommy Edman, Fernando Tatis. What are we doing? Fernando Tatis has played 0 games this year, 0 games, and he has half the votes of Tommy Edman. Tommy Edman and Francisco Lindor, they've kind of had a similar year. I mean, Tommy Edman's been better with the glove, but Francisco Lindor has been more productive. Maybe I could be speaking out of my you-know-what, but Trey Turner to me and Dansby Swanson, that's about as close as you're going to get. Trey Turner in the leadoff spot is a different breed. Here's another example of the Toronto Blue Jays fans. I have to tip my cap. They took advantage of the vote. They took advantage of the system in place. I can't fault them for that. It is the system's fault, not the Jays fans' fault. Well, I guess I'll put a little bit of blame on you because you thought it would be a good idea to vote for Santiago Espinal 5 times every single day when Andres clearly deserved it. But Tim Anderson, he's not having a better season than Xander Bogaerts. Bo Bichette is not having a better season than Xander Bogaerts. I think Xander is #1 in almost everything aside from defense. Again, they have a pretty good attendance as well. The Boston Red Sox are 10th in attendance. They have a very solid fan base, but for whatever reason, Toronto just completely took over this vote. Okay, this is cool. Jose Ramirez, that makes me happy. I thought that Rafi was going to run away with it because he was leading, I believe, a few days ago. Machado is #1. I am 100% cool with that. Let's see who else. Ronald is the #1 vote getter, even though he played just a handful of games. So right now, you have Ronald, you have Mookie, and Jock Peterson. There's a few other guys that you probably could have voted in, but I agree with this right here. I think these were my 3 starters. And then we have the AL outfielders. So Lourdes Gurriel Jr., do you know who's not on this list? Austin freaking Hayes is having a top 10 season for AL outfielders. He wasn't even top 20 in votes. You know who was? Chas McCormick of the Houston Astros. Austin Hayes is a baller. He is a shot caller. If you guys have seen that video by Skip Bayless way back in the day with, I'm kind of sick. I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. I hope that you guys enjoyed this little rant video. I am just kind of sick to my, was there anything else I'm missing? No, there's not. So I am sick to my stomach at these results. George Spring, where's Taylor Ward? Where's Austin Hayes? I'm sure I'm forgetting a few guys.
High fly ball, right field, Tucker back, leaps, and he makes the play.
But what are we doing? This makes absolutely no sense. So again, Austin Hayes will probably be written in by the players' ballot, but it just, to leave it up to the fans and only the fans who, there's a clear bias. I feel like the All-Star game has shifted from the best players to the most popular players, or the players that have the benefit of the biggest fan base. And the Blue Jays, whether you want to say that California and Texas are both about as big as Toronto is a single entity, and they are voting on one single team, whereas California and Texas, you have people from all over voting for different people. To me, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to make that comparison. So for me, the most egregious mistake of this one clearly was this right here, Andres Gimenez. And honestly, you know that saying in baseball, ball don't lie? The ball does not lie. Andres today walked off the Minnesota Twins, and he made a fantastic web gem play in the same exact game, and he's proven that he should be not only in phase 2 but starting over Jose Altuve. But unfortunately, even with almost 1,000,003 votes, he's not going to have enough. Thank you guys for watching. I am going to go drink this natural ice thing because these are delicious and sit out in the sun. Should I be this distraught as an adult man over All-Star voting? Probably not, but I just really feel bad for Andres Gimenez, and I'm not afraid to admit that the guy absolutely deserves to be a starter after floundering in 2021, being written off as a bust in terms of the Francisco Lindor trade, and he's had the best season of any second baseman in baseball this year. Fight me on that, Jazz fans and McNeil fans. I'm going to go ahead and give it to Andres. Maybe that's the bias in me talking, but thank you guys for watching. Something's got to change. Honestly, if you just stole the NBA system where team captains came out, like Shohei Ohtani chooses his starters, and then from there, the players choose the reserves, and there's no fan voting at all, I actually might be okay with that. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Catch you on the next one. What a joke.